Theodore's Treehouse is obviously a very personal project, and it clearly subverts and plays with the idea of luxury. Can you tell me a little bit about this subversion? Is it something that's an intent of yours, or is it something that's more intuitive?
I would say, yeah, definitely intuitive. I think it's only on reflection when I look at what I've done that I think, well, it is subverting, classical decorative arts principles. But I think it's more of the process of how I operate to achieve these kind of outcomes that leads me to think that it is an intuitive process.
So you've given it a name. So could we consider Theodore as a person? What kind of person would they be? What kind of characteristics would they have?
I think Theodore would be a bachelor that is in his mid-30s and comes home and makes himself a cocktail each night. I think there's this kind of 1950s, 1960s sort of genre of lifestyle that I immediately thought of when I saw this apartment, before I transformed it. So it's an Ernest Fooks early 60s modernist building. And I think I put myself in the position of an occupier back then when the building was first constructed, and sort of imagined, myself, maybe 60 years ago, living in this lifestyle in the treetop. And then the way I operated with the fit out, I started to think of different themes, and thematically the 1970s came into this particular room in what I call the Diana Ross shimmer dress room. This Motown kind of influence. And then I think, finally Theodore becomes this translation of many different eras. And his legacy is, this embodiment of, 60s, 70s, then I guess this kind of current day kind of speculation. And then, dare I say, this kind of futurist kind of expectation of how we might live.
So if we think about this project as inherently a cultural project, you're kind of testing out ideas inside the home, but then inviting others into it. We could almost draw a bit of a parallel then with house museums of the past. I'm thinking of the John Soane Museum through to perhaps Corbett Lyons House Museum here in Kew. Do those kind of projects have an influence on you, and if so, how? So
definitely what I took away with Sir John Soane's home that influenced this project was this idea of collecting references from trips, overseas expeditions, and then finding a way to display them that sort of fits within this kind of domestic and, museum-like kind of quality that I kind of love. I think, living within your worldly possessions is something that needs to happen. That's everything from the furniture to the artwork to the ornaments, that there should be, a clear kind of nostalgic reference to an experience that you might have had previously. And yeah, Carlo Molino's own home in Turin, is this incredible example of that at a similar scale to this apartment. So his little mansionette was no larger than 100 square metres, but in each room it was this incredible immersive technique of layering nostalgic references on top of nostalgic references to this point where, the walls, the corners of the rooms are dissolved and it becomes this immersive experience.